Somebody brought up a great point, and I want to just mention this because just to kind of put your mind at ease. He mentioned that, oh man, I did that stretch and I only had the histogram in 8-bit. And he was afraid that when he applied that histogram to the image, it wasn't what I had on the screen. I was using 16-bit. All that does over here, the different bit levels that you can look at your histogram, is it changes the visual representation of what you see over here. It doesn't do anything to your image in the sense when you stretch your image. Your image is still in 32-bit floating point. And you can see that at the bottom. Let me see here. At the bottom down here on this status bar, it shows the dimensions of the image, how many channels. Right now it's one channel. It's just a grayscale image, one channel, luminance. And then here is the kind of the data space that the image is in. It's in 32-bit floating point. The F means floating point, 32-bit. And that's how big it is, 30 megabytes. So that's only this only gives you a visual change in how the histogram looks. So if I go back like that and I go to, say, 8-bit, it doesn't really change that much. It changes a little bit over here. If I go to 6-bit, it looks a little smoother. If I go to 1,000 levels or 10,000 levels, it looks different. 16-bit is just a good, it's a good resolution to look at your histogram, but it doesn't change your data at all. Okay, so we have our stretched luminance image, our superluminance, synthetic luminance. And like I was mentioning, you don't have to have that histogram look like what mine does. You can stretch that thing as much as you want. It's all personal choice at this point. If I want it even brighter, well, I can make this baby even brighter. I could really bring out some of that background nebulosity. And you'll notice in this image, there isn't going to be a whole lot of background grainy noise because we got rid of all that. You can bring out what's left. You can surely enhance it, but you can really take this a long way if you wanted to. And it's all kind of personal choice. All right, so that's our luminance. Now what we need to do, we've changed our luminance from a linear image to a non-linear image. And we need to do the same thing to our color image, our HARGB. So I'm going to get this guy sort of out of the way just to make some room, and I'm going to open up my narrowband combo image. And I'm going to do the same thing. The goal here, okay, is to stretch the color image the same as we did the luminance. So if you look here at the luminance, there's a bunch of lines that are like right there. There's a grid pattern on the luminance. On the histogram. And we're just about as far. That's where the first line is. This is your background point right there. Okay? What I like to do is I like to put my mouse so this line is right over the peak, and I look at where I'm at. So in this case, I'm at 0.1. What does that value mean? It's if you're in the 0 to 1 range, I guess that's maybe the 10% point. If you're in 0 to 535, it could be, 5,000 ADU or something. It's really irrelevant what it is, but that's the background level, and it's about 0.1, okay? If I probe over my image, I'll see 0.1 show up down here as kind of the background level. Usually that's 0.1 to 0.12 is usually a good place to be for most data, especially if it's a little noisy, because it won't show a lot of that background fuzziness. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our color image and we're going to make our histogram look sort of similar to this one. We're going to have our peak at the same point and so forth. And that's kind of an important step, because if you stretch one image much different than the other one, when you try to combine them, they're not really balanced, and you can have some wonky things that go on. So open up the color image here, and make sure you have that in your histogram window. Yeah, the narrowband.
Not the regular RGB.
Well, you can use just the RGB. It's just up to you. In this case, I'm going to use the narrowband image. This is the one I added that extra hydrogen alpha into the color. Okay. This is a neat, I forgot to mention this earlier. See that green line there? That means the image is linear. As soon as you stretch it, that green line goes away. That's a visual cue. Oh, my image is not linear anymore. It's been, and I didn't know that until like a month and a half ago.
Can you put an instance to get these to talk to each other, or is it just I got them up and I'm good to go?
Yeah, just bring your color image up like that, and why don't you get rid of the background stretch? I don't want to show that. Just let's see here. So my screen transfer function, I'm just going to reset it. Yep. I want that black image there. You may have a little window up here, the little monitor window on my screen. It looks like it's off to the side here now. But it's another way that you can turn on the screen stretch. Okay, is everybody at this point where they've got like black looking image? No?
Remind me how I was busy trying to fix something else. How I go back to the...
Just hit reset. Either that little monitor button up there. You have a touch screen. The monitor right there.
Yes, I do.
Or the reset button there.
I figured, what's the point of having on touch screen window?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to stretch this now the same way we did the other one. I'm going to open my preview. Okay, so I can see what it's doing. I'm going to drag the midtone slider way over there till I just start seeing stuff show up. And now I see stuff, and here's the histogram there. I'm going to change my zoom on the histogram to like 100 or so. And it doesn't look like I'm going to go very far with this, because I don't have to move it much at all to clip data. So I'm just going to leave that the black point alone. And if I put about 20 in there as the zoom, I get control back of the midtones. And I'm just going to take this midtone slider over to probably about there. The point is, I remember we did the other one. We went to the 0.1 level where I showed you this is where the sky background is. So if I put my mouse up here, about right there is the peak, okay? And it's about 0.962, something like that. But what else do you notice up there if you look at that peak? You see the green peak right there, the blue is right there, The red is right there. The red looks a whole lot different. Does anybody have any idea why that red looks so much different? Yeah, we added the H alpha data in. There's a whole bunch of data there. Whoops.
I have a monochrome histogram. Is there a reason for that?
You have a monochrome histogram. Are you looking at the right image?
I thought it was. Histogram transformation. I did this. Oh, no, this has disappeared. Oh,
You've got RGB selected there. Yeah, you're doing like the mouse thing like I did. Okay. Click on red channel. Okay, it's there. Green. Yeah. Reset your. Okay, go back to RGBK.
okay.
Yeah. Huh. That's weird. I've seen that happen before. It's your finger hits something.
So I still have a black and white histogram.
Yeah, I don't know how it did that, but you hit something for sure. Maybe after
Okay, sure.
we'll try to figure that out. Yeah. Okay, so that's why this red part is so much wider than the green or the blue, because we added that extra HA data in there. One of the other things I like to do when I'm doing my color is you can individually control each color channel down here. So say I'm looking at the, when I'm messing with this mid-tone slider, if I zoom in even more, say I go to 100, all right? If I want to move one of the other channels to kind of balance it out a little bit better, this is okay probably the way it is, but say a lot of people are used to looking at histogram peaks all lined up on an image, and you don't have any color cast in your image because that's how you make sure you don't. You can move the individual channels. So if I click, say I want to move the blue channel, I click on blue, all right, I can adjust that channel separately if I want to. So that's how you would do that. In this case, we're not going to mess with that. We're just going to stretch it open like that. And I'm going to bring it just a little bit more to get up to about that 0.1 level. So a little bit more, and then I'm going to go up here and, darn it, there we go again, my mouse. I'm going to
That's why I stopped using that now.
probe.
Driving me nuts.
Yeah, so that's about 0.1 at the peak. Okay, that's where I'm going to leave it. So now what I've done is I've stretched both images about the same way. And they're sort of going to be balanced when we try to combine them. So I'm going to apply that to the image. Just hit apply.
Excuse me, question, John.
Yep.
Where is the 0.1 level?
It's about, well, you're going to see these numbers down here. When you have your mouse probing up in this window here, you'll see the number right there on the. It's just the easy way to, make sure you stretch them the same way by using a number of some sort. What number you want to use is up to you, but yes, sir.
John, somebody had previously asked, why couldn't you take the previous stretch and just apply it to the RGB?
Well, you could, but the data is different. It may be different. It could be your background level of your color image may be a whole different value than the luminance image. It's a different set of data. It allows you a way to stretch both of them the same way by manipulating the sliders on the histogram. Okay. All right, so we have the stretched image now, stretched HARGB. And some of you may be happy right now just to stop and say, I like that just the way it is. Again, if you don't have luminance data, maybe that's where you would stop. I shot for a long time just shooting RGB, and I didn't shoot any luminance. sometimes adding in a lot of luminance to a very little amount of color data messes up the color because it overwhelms it because, it's a very, very high signal. So in this case, though, we're going to add in the luminance to this. So is everybody at this point where they've put that stretch on their color image now? And if you look down here, you'll see you're still in 32-bit, and that little green line is now gone there. Okay, so now your data is no longer linear. It's non-linear. Whoop. All right. So lastly, we need to combine this with the luminance. Take both of these images and combine them together. So we do that with a tool called LRGB combination. And it's on the Process Explorer window. It should be under Favorites. It's right here. Okay. And if you open that, it opens up a window called LRGB combination. So the goal here is we want to take our luminance image and add it into the color. This tool can be used several different ways, but the way we're going to use it is we are going to put our luminance image here, our synthetic luminance here, and we're going to uncheck these because we're not putting any color raw like red, green, and blue frames in there, which you can do. So uncheck the RGB. Select your synthetic luminance. Synthetic luminance DBE image, I guess, is what yours is called. All right. Everybody at that point? Okay. Down here, these are sliders that you can change the amount of luminance that you add into your RGB image by adjusting this slider. It's kind of just set at the default middle value right now. You can change the saturation, color saturation of your image. When it combines it, it'll do an increase in saturation or a reduction, depending upon which way you move this. And you can also have it apply noise reduction to your chrominance, which is your color, if you have very noisy color. In this case, we don't have very noisy color, so we're not going to check that. We're going to leave that unchecked. But I also want a way that I can see, once I run this and it makes that combination, I want to see what it looks like before maybe I want to tweak something, So I'm going to create a preview out of my color image here. I'm going to go right-click on it, and I just like to make a preview so I know what the image is going to look like in the end. I'm going to make a big one. I'm going to make like almost the whole image as a preview. And then I'm going to go click on that preview and size it to a pretty decent size that, I can tell what's going on. And then I'm going to apply this to the preview. The benefit of doing that is I can go back and forth between added data, no data, added data, no data, and I can see the difference in what it does to the image. And if I need to adjust something here, I can do that and then redo it on the preview only until I get it right, until I like it. So if I hit the square, make sure the preview is selected, hit the square, and it's going to pop up a new image there, okay, on the screen, which is your luminance data added into the RGB. Okay. If I don't like that, and if I want to see what the difference is, I don't have enough room on this screen, and you may or may not have this. This is the back button on the preview. If I click it back, forward, it goes back, forward. I can see the image, the difference in the image, and I can go back and forth and kind of preview what I just did. Turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. So it gives me an easy way to make that decision. Do I like it? That's with the luminance. What it did was, I noticed that it reduced the saturation of some of the colors in this area here because the luminance had a lot of data in there. It didn't really do much to the background. But, yeah, I kind of, some of the stars got smaller. Maybe I want to add a little saturation. Sometimes, or a little less luminance. If I wanted to add less luminance in, I'd drag this slider this way. If I wanted to add more saturation in, I could go this way. So I'm going to add a little more saturation just because this tends to work pretty well. And maybe bring it up to 0.4 or something. And then I'm going to hit apply again. And again, this is only being applied to the preview, not to your real image. If I hit apply again, and it does it, I get another new image, and I like that better. So I'm going to go back and forth again and look at it. On and off, on and off. It added a little more saturation back into the brighter areas on that luminance image that had a little bit brighter data in that area. So does everybody get the idea of using this little on-off preview button to kind of go back and forth?
What's the name of that window?
So on my bigger monitor, it just shows up, but on here, it's where this little arrow is. There's a little drop down up here that gets you to the other icons. And it's this curved one. It's a curved arrow. It's the standard, I think, icon for forward back, in most software. Oh, is that what it is? That's the hotkey? Yeah. And it gives you a little, it pops up a mouse over. If I don't know where I'm at, if I want to redo what it looks like, undo, redo. So this is just a way for you to go back and forth and make, look at your data before you made that change and look at it after you made the change, before you really make any change, because it's just done on the preview. All right? You had to create a preview.
We were trying to catch up on this.
Okay, well, create a preview.
Where?
You have to create a preview on your image. So remember how we do that? You right-click, mode.
Okay, so we didn't do a preview because that's last time we did it over there.
We did, but there is no.
Yeah, we figured that out.
New preview. Create a preview. Just go up here and draw a big square almost around the whole image. Just a second. No, not dragging that.
I didn't mean
in
to
here.
grab that.
Oh, there you go. All right, like that. Okay, let go. There's your preview.
All right.
Click on the
Missed
preview.
that part.
Make that smaller so you can see it. There you go. You have to put your luminance image in there. So you have to go over there. Select your drop down. Select your,
Configuration, I think it's still called that.
okay, click there. All right, hit OK. Hit apply. And it's only going to do it on your preview.
Unfortunately, I think I hit a global button earlier that may have messed everything up, but because that was,
Because you didn't have it open.
I didn't have a preview open. I had.
Oh yeah, no, that's not the image. But
I've messed up the image.
no, you haven't. It's just been done on the preview.
No,
It hasn't-
but I messed up the image before that, so we couldn't do it.
Okay.
You do the preview to save processing time?
Well, not only save processing time, but it allows me to see my before and after very easily.
Don't you do that on the original?
I could.
If you're making the preview the same size as the original.
Well, in that case, yes, it doesn't save any processing time. But what if? Yeah, and what he's saying is, if I have another preview, say I just wanted to look at this area here.
I understand,
Yeah,
that would be faster.
this goes really quick. You know, if I, boom, you know, there's my
Right.
there's my. It's like instant. You know, there's my color combination. You can do it that way too. In this case, this image has a lot of stuff in it, all over it. It's not like a little galaxy just sitting there in the middle that I'm worried about. It's the whole thing. So I made a big preview. But it's sort of a small preview will save you some time. A big preview lets you look at the whole thing. It's kind of a personal choice.
This is all working
Okay.
great with the single exception when I adjust the saturation or re-preview, it doesn't seem to change anything. It's just the brilliant colors come in, whether it's at 0.5, 0.1, or 0.8. You notice the difference?
Oh yeah, big difference. So when I went from 0.5, which was the default, to 0.1 on the saturation, it made a difference in the core of the nebula.
You hit apply, right,
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and it'll look different.
yeah. Definitely looks different on mine. So if you like what you see, and I kind of like how this turned out, I just go to my main image up here, click on the tab of your main image. So now you're at your real image, and just hit the apply button here, or you can drag the triangle over, whichever way you like to do it, and it'll add the luminance into that image. Boom, and there it is. So in this case, it made the stars a little bit smaller. It brought out a little more detail, but the real benefit of this is if you have you use deconvolution, which we didn't get into yet, and you sharpened up some of the high signal areas of your luminance image, it brings that sharpness over into the color data, and it really makes things stand out sometimes. In this case, it's all pretty good already, so now you have a LHA RGB image. And from this point forward, we can do a few things probably to it, but I bet you it looks pretty darn good the way you see it. And we didn't really do any curves yet or anything else on it to manipulate what's on your screen. So
What does this artifact indicate? I've got these artifacts here.
too much saturation.
When I go back and redo it.
I hope so. I just back up. All right. Is everybody to this point where they have a combined image?
I'm recording.
Oh, okay. All right. Barbara, you have it?
No,
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna get it on, I have to go back later.
well, just work on your RGB. You have the regular RGB image, right?
Yeah,
Okay. That'll work too.
got a combination image, but I don't know what I combine.
Okay. So that's how you add luminance. That's the tool you use to add luminance into your color data. All right, well, from this point forward, I could do several things to the image, potentially. Maybe I want to make a little curves adjustment. PixInsight has curves also. So if you go over here to Process Explorer, Curves, it opens up a window very similar to what you'd see like in Photoshop or something like that. And this window works similarly as the histogram window in the sense that you can select the individual color channels here. Right now, the entire image is selected, but you can click on one of these and you'll see the color of this line change, and then you can manipulate that curve of that particular color if you wanted to. Over here, it gives you an option to work on the luminance, the hue, the saturation, the chrominance channel. PixInsight maintains a whole bunch of information kind of where you can't see it, but it's within the program. And up here at the top of your window, there's a way that you can look at all the other channels that are within that data. If I want to just look at the red data, the green data, blue data. If I want to look at the chrominance data, it's here. It's that one. There's multiple ways to look at your information, and that's how you get to it. So that sort of relates to what's down here. This is chrominance information, which is basically color saturation information. It's the intensity of your color channels. This is the hue, kind of like how you change your hue in Photoshop. This is saturation. And PixInsight does this really cool thing with saturation. It converts your image to a lab color space before it adjusts it, and then converts it back. So this tool works really, really well to use color saturation within curves here. So say I want to brighten up my image. It's too dark. Curves also gives you an option to show you a preview of as it happens. So normally I click that, and you'll see a preview of your image come up. And make sure down here at the bottom, this says smooth. There's several different previews that you can have it show you. A coarse looking preview, a smooth preview, which is what we have here, which kind of looks like the real deal, the real data. So make sure you have smooth selected there. And then over here, it shows you what image that you have up, this narrowband combination. It should. All right. So the way this works is click on the mouse. If you want to brighten up the image, raise the curve, you can do it right there. If you want to apply, is anybody familiar with the standard S-curve that people hear about a lot in Photoshop? Well, I can do it right here, and I can see it change in real time. You know, in this case, the image, at least on my screen, probably, let's see here, probably maybe something like that looks pretty good, just a little increase in the brightness of it. And I can see it happen in real time, which is really neat. So if I like it, all I got to do, let me even back up. So before I apply that change, say I wanted to change the saturation, and I'm doing all this in one operation. So I just click on the saturation. It still shows my original curve that I've added to the three color channels, and now I've got my saturation curve here. What if I want to increase the saturation? I don't really have to on this one, but if I do, if I go like that, watch the saturation on your image go up and down, and you know, maybe you'll find a spot you like it right there or something. If I want to work on a particular color channel, I clicked on red. It threw a red line up in there, and I can adjust my red channel. In this case, I really don't want to, but there's lots of things that you can do with curves. So play around with it when you get a chance. In my case, all I'm going to do is just add a little bit of a brightness to the image. And if I like it, I hit apply, and it's going to apply it to the image here. It's going to show me I still have the preview window open, so it'll show me a new preview of what that curve now looks like. So give that a try on yours. Make some changes to it, and make it visually pleasing for your eye, and apply that curve to it. Did it work on yours? Yeah. You don't have to do much to this. And that's the benefit of having a lot of data. You don't really have to do a whole lot to it to make it sort of look fairly decent. Okay, well, once you hit apply, I'm going to get rid of the preview window, and I can close my curve. I can clean this up a little bit. I don't need my luminance anymore. A couple hints here before we take another quick break. Say I don't want to look at this preview anymore. I can just right-click on it and delete. You know, if I want to clean up what my image looks like, I have bunches. I normally make like 6 or 7 previews. I'll put a preview over a star, over some high-resolution information. When I make changes, I'll have them all over the image. And it's easy to clean up if you need to. You just right-click on the preview and get rid of it. And of course, there's another way. Up on top, there's a delete preview button, which I'm not sure if I have it up there. It's probably hidden, I think. But there's a hot button up on the top if you want to set up your top taskbar with it. It's available.